Welcome back in, everybody. We are joined by Justin Wells, Tucker Carlson's longtime executive producer at Fox News. Justin is now the producer of a new documentary series, Art of the Surge, which you can watch on X. Justin, welcome. First time on the program. Let's just start with this. I know you were doing a documentary about the Trump campaign. Must have been amazing at various points, but then you were there in Pennsylvania when the bullets were flying, and I mean right there next to the stage.
Yeah, we were very, very close. Thanks for having me on. See you guys out all the time and big fans. But anyway, we were about 15 feet away over the president's left shoulder in Butler. We'd been embedded with him for about a month at that point. We started traveling everywhere with him in June. He went down rather quickly. For a moment, you thought it was fireworks, and then obviously, when you kind of got a sense of what was happening in the area, and the Secret Service stormed the stage, we realized what was going on. But we were right there. The cameras were rolling, and then we were with the campaign in the area they call the buffer, which is just mostly Secret Service agents and like a couple still photographers, and we watched it all unfold, and then we documented what happened in the minutes, about the first hour right after. We worked the crime scene and tried to get as close to what we could uncover as possible.
So, Justin, what has the response been for the documentary so far? And I know I'm in it because you were in the press box when I did my interview with Georgia, Alabama, and then I did an interview with you guys. I've heard from a bunch of people who've already seen it, but what would you hope that they take away from the documentary so far?
I think the most interesting thing about this documentary in particular, everyone debates the politics of Donald Trump and the way he messages things or whatnot. You've got Liz Cheney right now calling him a dictator or whatnot. My perspective is if he's a dictator, then why is he letting us follow him around with a camera unfiltered and completely unvarnished, show exactly how he interacts with his team, how he interacts with the media, the highs and the lows. So what we tried to do is not bring politics into it. We're not like getting into the nitty-gritty of how he feels about abortion or even immigration. We're actually seeing how he operates as a manager and how he operates as a friend and how he operates as, a leader for the American people. And that was our goal, is just being there and catching those interactions, including the interaction with you. And I think that's pretty powerful. So, everyone says he's up in the middle of the night raging, tweeting or whatnot. And there's a scene in the fourth episode where you see how that unfolds. He's getting the perspective of people that work with him, and they're very smart people around him. But it is all him. It is his words. So, you kind of see the way that Donald Trump works and operates, and I don't think it's been done before with anyone running for president in recent history, for sure.
Justin, do you get the sense that despite the seriousness, the sense of history, the life and death situations, that overall in this campaign, Trump is having fun? Because that seems to come across to a lot of people that go to rallies and that do interviews with him, like Tucker off stage. I mean, it comes across to the viewer. What was it like behind the scenes? Does he just love this stuff?
I was there with him in Phoenix yesterday. I was there in New Mexico. As he was walking to the plane in New Mexico, he was decked out, and it's pretty dramatic when he comes off Trump Force One. Nobody does that, but he looked at us, gave us a thumbs up, like he was proud of the outfit he was wearing for that moment, and like he's always dancing backstage, even when he's not in front of the crowds. He is having a good time. I can only imagine. I couldn't pull it off. I don't know anyone that could. But his ability to just kind of roll with it is uncanny. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see anyone that's capable of doing that. He's back there before he takes the stage, editing his speeches, but he's not. In many ways, he's just editing it to kind of just add a little bit more, not entertainment necessarily, but he's making it more engaging. As anybody that's trying to communicate with voters should be doing. I can't imagine the person he's running against is doing that backstage. I don't think she's written a single word of her speeches. So, he's definitely engaged. He is not exhausted or any of that. He's back there having fun, shaking hands, wanting to take pictures. And, we captured it in the documentary firsthand, but anybody that's kind of been around his orbit in the last month or 6 months has seen that out of him for sure.
Justin, what about just the inexhaustible energy that Donald Trump seems to possess, even at 79 years old? And Buck and I, have been fortunate to see him a lot behind the scenes, and we've talked about this, but after one of our interviews at Mar-a-Lago, he insisted that he wanted us to have milkshakes. Our wives were there too, and he wanted us to wait because Mar-a-Lago has the best milkshakes. What I found, that I'm curious, and we've seen him with his grandchildren behind scenes, what I found, to mention your earlier analysis of dictatordom or whatnot, is that he's actually a pretty likable, easygoing guy outside of the public spotlight. I'm curious if you saw that, and also, to your point, Albuquerque, Phoenix, the travel schedule is crazy for anybody. Are you, as a much younger man, sometimes like, how does he have this inexhaustible supply of energy?
Yeah, I can do it, and I can see a lot of my friends being able to do that. People in the media work long hours or whatnot, but we all get exhausted after hours and hours grueling on. But he just goes nonstop, and he was up yesterday at like 6 in the morning, and then that was 6 in the morning Eastern time, and then he wrapped up at, I think it was like 10:30 p.m. Out in Phoenix, so that's 3 hours earlier. So I mean, he's putting in these long days that I've never seen anything like it, and he's the one that's not done. There are people around him that are probably like, okay, it's time to get back to the plane or the hotel, and he's ready to see more people, take more pictures, have more conversations, and in those conversations, the person you see kind of on stage, and specifically in the documentary, is the same person that people interact with. It's not an act. He is very funny. He's extremely likable. Even if people, there's certain people that probably don't agree with his politics, but if they actually got to know him and actually knew what he was like as a person, as a father, as a manager of the people that work for him, I mean, I can't see how they could compare him to Kamala Harris and think that he's some sort of, Satanistic dictator or whatever they want to portray him as.
We're speaking to Justin Wells. He is the producer of Art of the Surge, a documentary which you can watch on X. I wanted to ask you about that, Justin. The Elon factor in, probably the history of the world, but also in this election is profound. Just having X as a true free speech platform that is broad spectrum, right? I mean, I know that there's Rumble, there's Truth, but those don't really reach outside of a more center-right audience, whereas with X, you still have this tens of millions or hundreds of millions, however many it is these days, of active users a month. And I just think it's interesting that not only has that allowed for more robust exchange of ideas online going into this election than we saw in 2020, but it also is just the beginning, from what I understand, of people using X as a platform in a whole range of ways. I mean, tell us about the choice of putting out a documentary first and foremost on X as the platform.
I think it was important for a host of reasons. When Tucker and I, departed Fox or whatnot, we went to X temporarily. He's since launched Tucker Carlson Network in addition to that. But, what we found with X and what I found recently as well is they just have the scale to reach a huge number of people. I think 30% of their audience is independents. The rest is split amongst people on the left and the right as far as domestic American, the American audience there. And when you see what happened to Joe Rogan in his interview on YouTube with President Trump just the other day, he's the biggest podcaster in the world, and sure, he's got a Spotify deal where he's allegedly protected, but then you see that, you can't even search for probably the most important, consequential interview of the week, if not the month, if not the entire election, as far as this race. People wanted to hear that interview, and YouTube made sure that you couldn't hear that interview. And I think that X definitely serves a purpose as far as that, and somebody needs to move into that video space. And YouTube has been dominant far too long, but they're putting their fingers on the scale clearly, because they don't even want you to find what you're searching for. So I thought it was important to reach as many people as possible before the election outside of a paywall, and I thought the best way to do that and engage with folks is on X. And I think I think that there's definitely a seismic shift in the way X is perceived, thanks to a lot of what Elon is putting into the platform and allowing creators like myself and others to put forward there.
Check it out. You can watch it at Art of the Surge on X. You can also check out artofthesurge.com. Justin Wells, Tucker Carlson's executive producer of this brand new documentary series, Art of the Surge, which I'm happy to be a part of. Justin, we appreciate the time. I'm sure that through the election is going to be a heck of a good thing to be able to see.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Good to see you.
Awesome. That's Justin Wells doing a great job with that story, which is going to have, I think, some historic resonance, especially as we sit here 4 days from the election. Right after the election, early December, I'm going to be headed to Israel to do the show live from Israel. And Israeli citizens are preparing for another attack right now in their country. Late last night, reports that came out that Iran was going to be using proxies in Iraq to reportedly attack Israel again. That means citizens in Israel have to take cover in bomb shelters while the IDF does their very best to shield the nation and its people. Conflict remains as intense as ever. Israel and her people are facing attacks from enemies on all sides, and your support matters more now than ever before. Thousands of Israeli reservists have been injured. Their families need support. Your gift of $150 will help the fellowship provide food and other necessities to these families to help them survive. Your gift will be matched, doubling its impact. Call to make your $150 gift right now at 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-4325. You can also go online to supportifcj.org to give. That's one word, supportifcj.org.